Let me begin. Nana Sukma asks, have you ever wondered about choosing a life partner? How do you deal with feeling your anxiety when your friends are already married, but you haven't yet? It isn't happening to me right now. What advice would you give to people like me? Nana, please do something for me. Do something for yourself, I should say. Get a piece of paper and write down where your anxiety about this is coming from. So by that I mean, in order for you to help yourself, because I can't help you with this, in fact, you are the only one who can help you with this, I would ask if your anxiety is coming from a feeling of not conforming to societal norms and standards. Is it a fear of missing out on an experience, marriage? Is it having a desire to be married and not having that desire be met? So, in other words, in order for you to solve this problem for yourself, you first have to identify exactly what about this, you not being married and your friends all getting married and that time of their life is happening. What about that is causing you anxiety or to be displeased with yourself? So that would be my advice to you, because conforming is a funny thing, and I have made a video about comparison and the trap of that. We all do this. It's a human nature condition to compare ourselves to other people. We each can only live our lives. So I would encourage you, and it's easier said than done, but I would encourage you to develop, if you haven't started already, develop a strong sense of yourself so that you may know exactly what you desire, not what your friends desire, what your friends are doing, or what society is pressuring you to do, or that you feel pressure from society to do based on what majority of people are doing. That has nothing to do with you. You have to know what you want, what you need. Are those needs and wants being met? And if you do, for instance, want to be married, then you can take the necessary action steps to go along that path. But if your reason for your anxiety is simply that your friends are doing it, or everyone is doing it, or that the majority are doing it and you're not, that you're being left out somehow, that's not a good reason, in my opinion, to feel badly about yourself. Again, easier said than done, but in my experience anyway, there's no joy in conforming to other people's standards, especially if they don't align with your wants and desires. But that's the best advice I can give, and that's why I'm such a fan of journaling, in fact, because it's a great tool to solve these types of problems. So good luck with you. Good luck to you. Sabrina R. asks, I definitely see you as a big sis figure. So my question is, what advice would you give people entering their 20s? I would say the biggest thing I learned in my 20s was to start actually by then I had already been on the path, but to start cultivating your sense of self. Find out what you believe in, what your values are, determine what your innermost desires are in your life, your goals, your career goals, your personal goals, your relationship goals, your talents, and how you will go about cultivating those and nurturing those. And then live along that path, live in alignment with that. In other words, learn to trust yourself, and cultivate that sense of intuition, that inner compass that we all have, and that enables us to not get so impacted by the noise that's infiltrating this egoic structure, that we don't want to let those things guide our decisions. We want to be the executive CEO of our own lives. In any way, I do, of my life. So I imagine that that's the ultimate goal, I think, is, a lot of us want that we want to be able to trust ourselves. So I would say that's the biggest thing I learned, is to trust myself. My father's always telling me, Jennifer, trust yourself. and I never forgot that, and he's always reminding me, and I do. Good reminder, though. So good luck to you, Sabrina. Jess Howard asks, what is the greatest risk you've ever taken? Okay, so this is things that are coming to my mind. Actually, funny enough, the first thing, I should just be very real, the first thing that popped into my mind when I read this question right now is that years ago, in my young 20s, perhaps stupidly, but I was with a very trusted individual, and anyway, I jumped off a bridge into water. I survived, obviously, I'm here, but I jumped off a bridge into water in a lake, and that was, looking back, that was pretty risky because it was high off, the bridge was high. Of course, I was using my discretion, and I certainly must have believed that it was not going to be my demise that day, but looking back, I think that was very risky, although, thrilling, I must admit. So that's the first thing that popped in my head. I must say I'm not a very risk-taking individual by nature because I like to plan, I like to organize, and I enjoy structure and order in my life, as many of you may have picked up on and I have revealed. Okay. PTV Jessica asks, what advice would you give to young adults regarding choosing a career path or dealing with a stressful career? The advice I would give as far as dealing with a stressful career, I think all careers are stressful in their own right, and my personal advocacy is meditation practice. That has helped me a great deal mitigate stress. It's free, it's accessible at any time so long as you have your breath. That's my advice, is meditation practice if you haven't already implemented that. But as far as choosing a career path, I think if you are unclear of what you desire, simply start writing down the things that you enjoy, write down your passions, write down the things that people are close to you that they have picked up on that you are excelling at, or that you are exhibiting a particular expertise in a field. It's a good thing to ask people who are close to you because we often can't see ourselves. So if you're having a struggle in this area, perhaps ask someone or a number of people who are close to you, what have you noticed about me? What stands out to you as being an asset? And again, keep a journal. I think a journal is a great tool, that we keep an inventory of ourselves, which is our most precious commodity, is yourself. So good luck to you, Jessica. Sydney Burns asks, do you ever deal with people in real life pressuring you to reach certain milestones in your life, such as marriage, having children, finishing a degree, taking a certain career path, etc.? How are you able to maintain what seems like such a close, healthy, and honest relationship with your mom? And I'm going to add my dad, because both my parents I'm extremely close with, and my sister, and my extended family to that end. I'm a very familial person. My family is my fiber. It's me. So we're inseparable. I cannot be without them. And so, let's see, the how do I maintain that? Because it's my upbringing. I have always been close with my family. It's all I've ever known. So I know that's not a helpful answer to your question, but it is all I've ever known. And I'm blessed. I'm extremely blessed and fortunate in that area, that I've had such an amazing familial life from the time I was born. It's been wonderful, supportive, and loving unconditionally, and that has been what has sustained me in many times, that my family. I'm editing my video, and I noticed that I didn't say the most important thing in the family question and how I maintain that, and it's because we all communicate with each other. So I had a long-winded explanation, but we all communicate, and we've always done that. So open communication is, I think, the number one thing that I guess maybe that's revealing of that. I maybe take it for granted that we communicate with such ease and joy with each other, but that's how I maintain my connection with my family like I do, is that we have open communication and we actually relish that about one another, and we love sharing. So that's that. Back to the video. And as far as dealing with people in my life pressuring me with reaching certain milestones like marriage, having children, etc., how do I deal with that? I don't feel pressured, I must say. There was a time, probably in my young 20s, when I was feeling societal pressure. I've gone beyond that now. I've moved past that. And I have moved into the realm. When I say I've moved past that, what I mean is that, succinctly, I've gotten to a place in my life where I am not bothered by outside influence. I remain unbothered because if I am to live my life, which is what I want, it's the only life that I'm given, I don't want to waste my precious energy or attention on what other people think of me. Because if I let those voices and those opinions, if I let those govern my actions, I'm not being authentic to myself. And then I'm not serving my purpose. I'm serving other people's purpose, or I'm serving my ego because I'm caring what other people think of me. So I don't want that. So that's not what I practice. So I don't feel pressure at all, actually, because I'm too busy living my life. There's no rush. Any number of those things that you listed, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know my future. I'm not going to concern myself with things that haven't happened yet, should they happen in the future. Sarah Batanian asks, what are your favorite benefits from intermittent fasting? I enjoy the feeling of being able to eat a lot, so I like that fasting and feasting modality. I enjoy that. Not everyone does. I do. I can become very attuned to my body's natural hunger signals, which I have struggled with greatly in the past because I was using food to regulate my emotions, or attempt to regulate my emotions, I should say. So I was misusing food, and that has been cured by practicing intermittent fasting, because there's no confusion about when I'm hungry or when I'm full. Eating this way, I listen to my body's natural signals and then I feed it accordingly, and it seems to be a very harmonious relationship I've established with my body. So good job, body. Good job, me. Oxlip asks, what was your studying method at university? Were you a perfectionist? Speaking of evaluations. So Oxlip, very astute observation. I was indeed a perfectionist as far as studying goes, and I've always been a studious person, so that studying and learning is one of my favorite pastimes. So I never had to force myself to study. And I took notes voraciously and read and reread and memorized textbooks. Yes, I would memorize my textbooks. That's how nerdy I was, and I was so meticulous about my studies. I actually enjoyed going in my bedroom, closing the door, rewriting my notes that I had taken in class, things like this. I really enjoyed doing that. There's something about being studious that I just very much enjoy, that fulfillment of studying, putting my effort and energy into learning a subject, and then taking an exam and then scoring well on the exam. Validation of, again, my ego. So there you go. Natalia Turner, I think I will make a separate video on your question, so I'm going to put a pin in your comment. You wondered how I'm going to feel about the next stages of life and age-related illness, so hang tight, please. Reem Mohammed asks, how do I develop my intuition? I would say start journaling. Sit quietly with yourself, focus your attention on your breath. You will begin to notice your mind and your attention will bring to the surface questions you have about yourself, and write these questions down. Journal, ask yourself questions, and then when you answer those questions, It might go without saying, but answer them honestly. Answer them brutally honestly. Intuition, in my experience, it's a product or it's a byproduct of having a strong sense of yourself, having a deep trust, having conviction in yourself. So if you don't have that, it's okay. But I would urge and encourage you to start cultivating that, nurturing it, practicing meditation, practicing things that you love, passions. These things will help feed that sense of intuition because it will help you to know yourself. You must know who you are, what you stand for, what you want, what you need in life. Once you figure those questions out, start living your life in alignment with that and trusting that, and that will guide you accordingly. Things will come to you and you will make decisions based on you. And that's the most important thing because each of us we're living our life. We're not living anyone else's life. I think that's where people get into a lot of trouble, is not focusing on themselves, but focusing on what everyone else is doing and having that be such an influence that it becomes a source of anxiety, pressure. So that would be my advice to you. You also asked what my hobbies are. I love playing instruments. I love the piano and the flute. I love to hula hoop. I love to dance, walking in nature, just being in nature in general. I love being in the water, so jumping into the ocean, which unfortunately I don't live near, but when I get the opportunity to, I do. And I love to study and learn, as I've said. Those are just off the top of my head. And how can I stay healthy in my 20s and 30s? I would say sleep. Make a sleep schedule and stick to it. That's very, very, very important. Mind your diet, so be mindful of the foods you're eating and get that situated, because again, once you get that situated, that will kind of set you up for life. Once you determine what diet is appropriate for you and what foods nourish you the best, mentally, physically, emotionally, diet has a huge impact on all of these things. Get that situated, and then I'm going to say it again. I would say meditate. Start meditation practice. Twice a day, morning and night. It does wonders for stress relief and the immune system and just general happiness and well-being. And then the number one thing I would say is not only for your 20s and 30s, but beyond and any age, prioritize yourself, because you cannot be a resource to others if you are not at your best executive functioning capacity. So you serve others better. You're better to go out in the world and be productive and give, because you have reserves in the bank to give. If you don't have that, you run deficient. You can't help the greater good of mankind and those around you and your community, so on and so forth. So prioritize yourself always. Don't feel selfish about it. Feel proud about it. Scott the truck driver, fellow YouTuber. Hi, Scott. You asked, how are you dealing with the unrest, COVID anxiety, and the growing problems in the economy? I take care of my mental health. I take care of my real estate because, in other words, I watch what I consume, both in the way of food and in the way of media and news. In this climate especially, taking care of the mental health, using my tools like yoga and meditation, correct diet, sleep, managing my stress is what I'm trying to say. I need to maintain it. I and each of us, I think, we need to maintain it in this chaos. We need to maintain our level of sanity. We need to be able to make what I'm trying to say. We need to be able to make realistic, clear-headed, rational decisions. Distinguishing reality from propaganda, having the mental fortitude that will enable us to know how and where to set personal boundaries. So that's what I have been doing. I think that I choose to allocate my personal resources on things that deserve it, and then I don't spend it on things that don't. So I guess that's what I mean by protecting my real estate. That would be my answer to you. I've been watching your videos and your beautiful nature vlogs, everyone. If you want to see beautiful landscapes, Scott, as his name implies, is a truck driver. Scott the Truck Driver on YouTube. Check out his channel. He does beautiful vlogs of nature. It's just breathtaking, Scott. So thank you for that. And also he makes great original music. So good luck, Scott, on the road. Girlfriend says, you seem very at peace with yourself and your life. How did you get there? What have you learned along the way that settled you in that space? I am very at peace with myself and my life right now. And how did I get there? What have I learned? How did I get here? I have kept journals. These are all my recent journals, but I've been keeping a journal since I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I haven't stopped. The reason I'm so passionate about writing is because it's collecting data. It's the truth. This is my truth in these journals. So I can use these as a tool to solve problems, to navigate my life, to figure things out. I keep a record of the foods I'm eating, the exercise I'm doing, how it's making me feel, how I'm sleeping. All of these things, it helps me regulate my life, because if something's not working for me, for instance, on a practical level, I can change it. And I have data that I can use directly to help me implement different choices so that I can make a change to benefit me, which is very important, because I don't want to live in a way that's subpar. I deserve to have, a good quality of life. So I want to invest in myself. And how did I get there? I guess that would be my answer to you, is that from a young age, and it is a lot to do with my upbringing. Thank you, Mommy and Daddy, and my ancestors for that matter. This is built into my fiber of my being. It's built into the legacies that were handed down to me from generations past, generations of ancestors that I've never even known. This legacy of identifying who I am and recognizing that I've always had, since I was little, I've always had a very strong sense of purpose, even, I will say. I'm settled in myself because, the short answer, it's not very short because I can't gather my thoughts. I didn't want to read these questions beforehand because I wanted to answer them in an authentic way, so I'm stumbling with my words, forgive me. What settled me in this space right now? What has settled me is my spiritual practice. I attribute a large deal of it to that. Learned and practiced acceptance. I have accepted a lot that I struggled with in my younger years because I am so stubborn. And as I've matured and gotten more solid, I've realized that there is an inner peace and there's a grace in accepting certain things that, and these can even be superficial things like the shape of my body or certain parts of my body. These things don't, of course, define who I am. So I think a lot of that comes from maturity, at least in my experience, because I'm thinking back, if I would have told my younger self this, I don't think I would have been in a receptive mode to receive that kind of wisdom, I guess, that can only come from lived experience. So it's tricky. Some lessons we learn along the way, and we learn them as we're going and practicing. So that's what I would have to say about that. But my meditation practice, my spiritual practice, is what grounds me, and 20 years of that has made me this way. I'll do one more question. Deepika Reddy asks, why did you choose to become a yoga instructor? Did you always want to do that, or did your life experiences push for a more Zen lifestyle? When I was 17, I started watching a program. There was a program on the Oxygen Network, which is, it was called Inhale with Steve Ross, and that planted the seed in me to want to start practicing yoga and meditation. And I was never the same since, I must say, because I became obsessed with this practice of yoga and meditation and learning everything I could learn about it. And that's where my path ended up taking me, to Kripalu, to study yoga and Ayurveda and meditation, and then later on to study functional medicine. All of these things intertwined because I was interested in bettering myself and helping to serve others. And the beautiful thing about yoga and meditation, the effects of yoga and meditation are cumulative. The effects are wonderfully cumulative, and they grow with you exponentially as your life unfolds and your meditation practice unfolds with you. And it's something that I am so passionate about. It's my life's passion, in fact. And that discovery of inner bliss, that unbounded awareness that we all have inside of us. Wake it up if you are not meditating. And I have some videos on my channel, in fact, if you're interested in meditation. But for now, thank you all for asking questions on my community tab post, and I will revisit those at a later date perhaps and do this again. Until you see me the next time, thank you all for watching. Stay well. Bye.